I had Kelly, but I want to switch to Ron only because he's here, but I'll do Kelly. Good evening. Welcome to the March 20th, 2025 Northampton County Council meeting. I've asked Ms. Keegan to please start us with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Heckman, would you lead us in a moment of silence or prayer?
Whatever you feel you have to think about in a serious way, take this moment to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shavnisky, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Corpora?
Here.
Mr. Giovanni?
Here.
Mr. Goffredo?
Here.
Mr. Heckman?
Here.
Ms. Keegan? Here. Mr. Kraft?
Here.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Here.
Mr. Warren?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Can I please have a motion to approve the minutes of March 6, 2025 meeting?
Motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have courtesy of the floor. There is no one who signed up this evening to speak. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak to courtesy of the floor? Hearing and seeing none. Mr. McClure, do you have a report?
Good evening. How is council tonight? It's so nice to be with you. Hi, Mr. Heckman. How are you, sir?
Great.
Good to see you. I understand in other forums, some of you are concerned about us having spent all the money, I think is a quote. And so with the books have recently closed, I thought it important to talk about that a little bit. So for a little context, as you know, we cut taxes in 2022. And by the end of this year, we will have sent $36 million back to our residents. And I think that's a terrific achievement that we all can be very proud of. So I'm not looking to raise taxes. If taxes are going to get raised around here, it won't be until 2027. But I just thought it important. We can't let folks think that we don't have any money left, because that's not true either. And I don't want to get too wonky, but the generally accepted accounting practices, or GADSB 54, requires us to have 2 months of cash in reserves. We had a little over 3 months at the close of 2024, or in excess of $33 million when you add our unrestricted fund balance and our financial stabilization fund together. So we were in better shape than generally accepted governmental accounting standards require you to be. By the way, the total unrestricted number was $73 million and change. There's a lot in the fund balance that cannot be spent in any particular year because it's encumbered or it's a special revenue fund, but that total number was $73 million. So we'll see. 3 months is still more than I'd like. I still think that's a month of overtaxation. I'd like to get it to 2. But you know, if we have it in the 3 to 4 month range, I think we're doing a good job. That was my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. McClure? Mr. Goffredo?
Mr. McClure, have we decreased spending since we decreased the tax revenue?
Yes,
We have.
we have.
By how much?
Well, so the number that I know, over the past 7 years, we've reduced the size of county government by 31%.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you. Is there any old business? If there's none, we have new business. First, we have a consideration of the executive's appointment resolution, Personnel Appeals Board. Mr. Giovanni, will you introduce the resolution?
Yes, I will. For appointment, Tracy Redistar, Bethlehem, PA, 18020, for a term to expire 2/03/27.
Is there any discussion on this? Call for the vote.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Gafredo?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Ms. Keegan?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Corpora?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Next, we have the consideration of a resolution accepting a donation to Area Agency on Aging from St. Peter's United Church of Christ. Mr. Brown, will you introduce the resolution?
Whereas Northampton County Home Rule Charter, Section 20210, provides that the county council shall have, among others, the following powers: to accept on behalf of the county any gifts of real property and to provide for the acceptance by any agency on behalf of the county of other gifts. And whereas St. Peter's United Church of Christ has requested to increase their donation by an additional $1,000 to be used for older adults that are in need. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Northampton County Council that it does hereby authorize the county executive to accept on behalf of the Area Agency on Aging the donation of $1,000.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Brown?
Yes?
Mr. Gafredo?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Ms. Keegan?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Corpora?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Next, we have consideration of a request for Controller's Audit Resolution. Mr. Brown, would you introduce?
Whereas Northampton County Home Rule Charter, Section 202, entitled Powers, states that the county council shall have, among others, the following powers. Number 8, to require periodic and special reports from the elected officials and their subordinates. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Northampton County Council requests the Northampton County Controller to prepare and submit an audit of the funds as to Resolution Number 70-2022 to the Northampton County Council within 20 days from the date of this resolution, which shall include but not be limited to the following. 1, full analysis of money set aside for retention bonuses from the American Rescue Plan Act for all employees of Graysdale, barring the Graysdale Administrator, Director of Nursing, and Assistant Director of Nursing. 2, full analysis as to how and when retention bonuses were dispersed, in what amounts, and to whom. 3, identification of all monies from Resolution Number 70-2022 that remain or were utilized for any other purposes whatsoever.
Thank you. Is there a discussion on this matter? Mr. Warren?
Yeah, thank you. I was wondering if we could speak with the controller, who I know is here. We had a finance committee meeting last night. Mr. Brown, I know that you were chairing, and we had some discussion about this. I had said last night, yeah, I think it's a good idea to get these analyses at some point down the road. 20 days, as we were talking about last night, that was the point of contention. I mean, 20 days is to get this done with the controller's staff, from what she was saying last night. Ms. Zirinsky, I don't know if you would want to address this again due to the fact that we are here as a full council. I know we talked about this last night and some of the challenges that your staff, based on the schedule and what you're currently doing, what the staff is currently doing right now. I know you were very open to it. Do you mind speaking to this at this point?
Sure.
Good evening. Upon Mr. Brown's request, I did submit copies of our year-end schedule. I also submitted the schedule from 2024 and a memorandum that was the product of a discussion between the senior lead auditor, myself, and Mark Arndt, the deputy controller. Have any of you had time to read that? It was in your email today. We did send it to Aileen, Genesia, and Rebecca, because, you know, we have to include her.
It was here on our,
Oh, good.
here on the dais for
Oh,
everybody.
very
Yes.
good, very good. So,
Emailed to us also. It was emailed to us.
oh, very good, very good, just making sure. So bottom line is, the controller's office will not be able to complete that in 20 days. We have suggested that you modify the resolution to say no later than the end of May 2025, and earlier if possible. I think there's a lot of background information here that shows why we cannot complete that. One, the first being our year-end work that is required. That is done for the entire fiscal year. It's about 1,500 hours of work. That does not include all of the training. And you'll notice on this sheet that says 2024 chargeable time breakouts, on the bottom, this is all the time that we charge to the different agencies and departments in Northampton County. At the bottom, you'll notice that there is non-chargeable time that requires us to perform administration, training, other non-working hours, and that total in itself is about 6,882 hours, and then the total, which is 13,921 hours. So I also provided you the information on our staff, which we have, that would be number 4. We have our senior lead auditor, Stacy Duke, and remember, she also does training through this year-end work. So sometimes it does take a little longer, and sometimes the year-end work requires the closeout to be a little later, like we're still waiting for some documents. So there's no telling when exactly the year-end work will be done. But according to our historical records, we believe that we can get this done by the end of May. So I would request, and humbly request, that you modify your resolution to accommodate the office and the statutory requirements and obligations that our office of the controller has to uphold.
Any other discussion?
I guess we have to decide as a council what we deem to be more pertinent, whether it's a time frame or the entity that's doing the audit. We obviously have the option of using an outside audit if we feel that we need it done in the 20 days. I don't want to force through a resolution that Mr. Zorinsky is saying that they can't do it in 20 days and then get something that we're not happy with and you're not proud of. But I also can understand why this is something that might be, a time of the essence matter. So I would recommend if we do stick to the 20 days that we go to an outside audit agency.
Question, what is the reason why we need this so quickly?
I was wondering that too. Like, is there an emergency to get
Yeah,
this
is there
done in 20 days?
something we don't know about?
$10 million that was allocated. We're being told by firsthand reports that it's not being allocated in the way that we said. And if it's being spent otherwise, that would be something that we'd want to know of. I think that's why it's, time sensitive. So
Allocated in 2022, and it's 2025, and now we need to know where it went in 20 days.
now we're shining light on it, so,
So why can't we concede to the controller? I mean, I don't want to spend money on an outside controller for something that seems to be, kind of exercise in whatever we're doing here to make it 20
I
days.
guarantee it'll be a
Can
lot
I
cheaper
have
than 10
people
million.
wait to be recognized? Thank you.
The end of May 2025 does not seem too unreasonable. That's only, that's what, 5 weeks from here? No? What are we talking about here?
Approximately 7
Madam President,
weeks.
me personally, I think I could deal with May 30th. I don't think
Yeah, I
that's.
mean, I would like to propose that we make a resolution at May 30th. or
Anybody
sooner
has
if
an argument
possible.
otherwise as to why we need it quicker, like, I think I would be able to support that. I might, I don't know, I'm still kind of undecided on it all. So I'd like to hear arguments as one way or the other.
Well, the only argument I think we need to hear is why it has to be in 3 weeks' time. And who all of a sudden decided this? Which one here on council decided, oh my God, we got to find out what's going on in 20 days? I mean, that's what I'd like to know.
Well, can I just say something to that? Because it's not me, but what I will say is I don't think the who matters. I think the request is made, the resolution is here, and I think we're discussing the resolution. So continue to out people
Well,
is,
I don't wanna out
I'm
somebody. You know,
speaking,
I don't wanna
thank
out
you,
somebody
I'm
who's speaking for me,
speaking,
so.
I'm speaking,
You know,
I'm speaking, thank you. Whoever put this forward, it's on the agenda, it's the way it is, there's a healthy discussion. It's not about who, it's about there's a request to do this. I hear a compromise almost happening, so let's allow people to speak on it and then maybe amend this to
well,
as
that's
you wish.
what I want to do, compromise.
But let
Let's-
people
let's
continue to
Make
speak.
it the 30th. I mean, if there's nobody wants to say, hey, I need it 20 days and why I need it, then let's just make make a motion to make it for the 30th, to amend this to say the 30th or sooner, as the controller said. So I have a motion on the table.
Ms. Keegan, would you like to speak?
There's a motion.
She had her hand up, and then I'll accept the motion.
Well, last night, Mr. Brown
Needs
said
a
that
second, doesn't
when asked whose resolution this was, he responded with, "It's the council's." And I didn't know anything about it until I was watching the meeting, so it's not the council's, because I'm part of the council, and I didn't know about it. And is this normal protocol that we hide resolutions from each other and we don't tell each other who is bringing it forward?
Brown?
Just to respond, it wasn't hidden from anybody. It was introduced at the Finance Committee yesterday, which if you were listening to the meeting, you would have been made aware of. So it's not hidden. So I push back on that point. In terms of the timeline and the urgency, these monies were meant for employees. Employees are being told they're not getting these monies, which was a surprise to the employees because the money is not available any longer per the resolution. That money was supposed to be made available. We were not told that this council was not informed ahead of time that the monies would not be going where it was. Certain members are getting money, some are not. So I think we owe it to the employees to clarify this for them immediately. They're expecting this money. They're told they're not going to get it. That is affecting employees directly, and that's why I do believe it is a sense of urgency to get this done ASAP. If there's no issues with it, so be it. The employees can move on, and so can council. But until we get the clarity on that, I do believe it is a sense of urgency, and we do owe it to the employees to clarify it for them.
And it will be clarified whether it's the 30th of May, and if there's retroactivity that happens, it'll happen.
Yes, sir.
Point of order.
But I have a motion.
Mr.
Well, I have a
Heckman.
point of order, so,
Go ahead.
okay. Has his motion been seconded? I didn't hear a second.
No,
Therefore, I'd like to be recognized.
yes.
Thank you. All right. I'd prefer we discuss the motion, with the resolution that's on it before we immediately short-circuit it with an amendment before everybody has had a chance to discuss the actual resolution. I was attending the meeting. You heard me last night. Okay. My string on my tin can is getting frayed, so I don't know if you guys can hear me sometimes when our non-existent Zoom system isn't working. But anyway, and I go on, I know, but I've been getting the same answer for 7 years. I actually agree with Mr. Kraft in the sense, and I think I said this yesterday to the controller, I can't tell the controller what her schedule is and what her schedule isn't. That's a controller's prerogative to tell us whether we agree or disagree. That's what we have the ability to do. And again, I have no problem with moving it forward. And I don't, look, I know people hate when you say, well, God, you've been around, you tell your stories. But Mr. Kraft even knows this. We're in silly season now. There's county elections, and anytime there's elections, the whole, until November and sometimes after, God knows what. I don't want to get into motives or non-motives. People expect us to do our job. We're not Washington, where we can just yell at each other. So the only thing I'm saying is, I didn't actually, I said I hadn't read it, but then my computer doesn't work. The county computer also isn't working well, so. Anyway, I have no problem. I said that what's being asked is appropriate. It's been done in the past by other councils over the years. Controllers have done performance audits and financial, and this seems to lean towards the financial end. And I do understand, I respect the fact that you guys have a schedule, but, you know, like anything in government or business, bureaucracies love schedules, and sometimes with what we do, things come up that just have to be taken care of. And I think you agreed that, you know, you'll get it done. So, I mean, now that I've had a chance to read it, I had said maybe we could combine them, but I think that pretty much it's fine the way it is. I understand the 20 days and wanting it right away, and I understand the motive. I don't think just because any given person comes up with it, before this year is out, a lot of stuff will be brought up here, which I'll say, do we really need to bring that up? But, you know, anyway, so I agree with Mr. Kraft in the sense that I don't have a problem with pushing it to the end of May. If you had said, we're not going to do it, or I can't do it because of a schedule, we all have schedules, and unfortunately, in government, schedules don't always work. I mean, you know, we all too often hear what we can't do as opposed to great, but what can we do? And you laid that out. You said, I can't do it within 20 days. And I have to give you due respect. You're in charge of the controller's office. But you said you could do it by the end of May. So the only thing that concerned me was at some point you had said, why don't you just get the money, the things from fiscal, because we're just going to do that anyway. And I hope that's not the case, because a controller, an auditor, CPA does more than just take whatever is handed to you by fiscal.
Oh, certainly, most certainly.
Does it make sense? Does it add up? Is it doing what it was meant to do? Now, that's an audit. Otherwise, we could get rid of all our auditing firms. But so, yeah, I just wanted you to know, I agree with Mr. Kraft in my sense. You're in agreement with the rest of it. It's just the date.
Yes, only there's one correction. This is not a financial audit. It's an agreed-upon procedure. So it's a procedural audit because we are discussing how funds were dispersed. We will look at the financials, but you asked us to analyze who got bonuses, who didn't, and how they were dispersed over a 2-year period. So of course, we do have to look at the financials, but there is more that is going to go into this audit. And I do want to add at this time that if you do go to an outside, that is going to delay your process way beyond 20 days because you're going to have to wait till next month to do another resolution, possibly an RFP to find somebody to do this kind of audit, and that will delay your process where you might as well have just agreed to do it in May.
Do I still have the floor?
Yes, sir.
I agree with you in the sense that, yes, I think till we get an auditor. But I would say that it is not just fiscal. I mean, it is the performance. How was the intended resolution or ordinance that established this Graysdale Fund? How was it carried out, and in the performance of those who were entitled to carry it? So I agree with you. That's why we get the controller involved many times, and councils ad nauseum have done this over and over again. Have said, like, we need to have an outside controller look at this because you're an independent body. You heard me say that in the meeting yesterday. It's your show when it comes to these audits. So I just wanted to know that, yeah, I can go with the 30 days, despite Mr. Kraft suggesting it.
I have a question, and it was a little difficult here, but I realize that the Mar du Sel preparation is the fiscal year and preparing for Mar du Sel's audit. So when will that be completed?
Our portion of that should be completed by the end of April. Hopefully mid-April, but, you know, we have a little grace. Mayor Dussel needs the work that we do so that they can complete the audit.
Understood. I didn't hear the time yesterday.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, that
And I
audit-
didn't get your email, so thank you for this, but that's not your fault. That's 2,000+ emails I got from an outside source that had nothing to do with county business nor your problem. So
Yeah.
thank you for this.
I did get those too.
That's another time, another matter. Any other discussion on this? Mr. Warren?
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Heckman, you took the words right out of my mouth, what I was going to say, in terms of the fact that this is, that this is silly season. I remember earlier this year, I made a comment about, you know, we're going to be getting into this silly season with campaigns underway, folks on the ballot, and I would hate to think that this has anything to do with silly season.
I'm not
right now.
attributing that, and it's bipartisan. I've seen it from all
Absolutely,
sides.
and I agree with Mr. Kraft about the date being May 30th, and yourself too. Do we know who authored this, if you don't mind me asking? Like, who is it authored by? I think it's important to know. I mean, we have had robust conversations, especially in the past year, when Ms. Keegan and myself have introduced resolutions and initiatives as well, and we were right out there in front of everything. Do we know who introduced the resolution?
I may. I was in Syracuse on business over the weekend. When I returned Monday evening at around 5:30, there was a message to me about this ordinance. I worked on it into the night. I drew it. I had it delivered to Aileen, I believe, at 8:30, after my secretary typed it at 8 o'clock. I drew it.
Okay. Thank you for that, Mr. Spadoni. Again, I want to go back to the fact that it's silly season here, and I just want to make sure that we're not getting too silly up here when it comes to whether it's our elected officials and county employees, what they can do within an appropriate period of time. I've said I think it's a good idea to get these analyses. I do. May 30th doesn't seem like a bad time for the Controller's Office to get this done. So I will second Mr. Kraft's.
So can Mr. Kraft restate the motion, or?
Mr. Giovanni wanted to say something?
You second.
That the 20 days would be changed to May 30th, 2025, or earlier, as the controller stated. If she can get it earlier, she's going to get it earlier for us. And that's the motion. So should we submit an audit funds as a resolution to the Northampton County Council within, I don't know how many days it is, before May 30th, 2025, or sooner?
Or sooner if possible.
Second.
And thank you for allowing the discussion. There's a motion and a second. Mr. Giovanni?
Just going to clarify for Mr. Kraft, that's 60 days. That's not 30, it's 60. Yeah. No, well, we were hearing 30 days, but it's actually 60.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Mr. Gafredo?
I know this is government, you know, I get put in positions all the time where scheduling is, you know, that's all I go on job sites and we get told, hey, you have to be done by this date. And if I say, well, it can't be done, I'll hear, it's not a matter of can't, it's find a way to do it. You know, if there was an opinion where it was like, hey, we could provide you overtime, we could authorize overtime. We needed it done. If we needed it done, would it be able to be done? Is that something that your office would be able to handle? If we authorized overtime.
I can't speak for my staff in saying that they would be open to overtime. That is something to be negotiated in a wage with them. I cannot require them to work overtime, even if they are compensated. That would have to be something that's negotiated with them personally. So each of my staff does have obligations outside of their workday. And I want to make sure that I'm mindful to stand up for my staff as well. They are working as hard as they can on this year end to get it done on time. This was required of them. What you are asking is above and beyond the requirements. And that, again, would have me go back and have to have another conversation with Stacy Duke and the other staff members to see who would be willing to have that overtime if they were available.
Say no more, Mr. Wren. I hear where you're, and I'm playing devil's advocate.
I know
listen,
you're trying to
without
find a
knowing-
solution, and I can appreciate that.
Without knowing what's happening here, I don't know if it's time sensitive. It could be a misunderstanding. And Mr. Warren, I don't think this is silly season stuff. I think this is $10 million that, on one end of the extreme of the spectrum, it could be misappropriated funds. On the other, it could be a misunderstanding. If it's misappropriated funds that could be getting spent to keep funding the operations of Greystale and not being put into the pockets of the employees as it was intended by this council, I would consider that a very serious matter that needs to get attended to very quickly. That's where we have a motion on the table and we have to vote on it, but I would like to hear from Mr. Barron after this motion is voted on. Maybe there's a simple explanation. Maybe we are, let's talk about that, but I guess we have a motion that we have to vote on. I don't know if we have enough information to know if this is time sensitive enough, so I'm probably not going to support the motion, and we'll figure out solutions for being 20 days.
Mr. Gafredo, I agree with you. Like I said, I think it's important to get these analyses, but I mean, let's give the controller's office a few more weeks with it at this point. I think that's reasonable.
Mr. Brown?
Ms. Zirinsky, you took on, during this time frame, you took on an audit of the DA's office, quite extensive. Did you tell them at that point you didn't have time? It's the same schedule. You picked up that audit. When is that audit due back to? Is that May, July, September?
There's no time requirement or parameters to that audit. We are still gathering information on that, and there's no due date for it.
But you mentioned that as part of your overall schedule and why you would not be able to squeeze us in, if you would, so.
We're not squeezing in the DA either.
But you added that in as if it was a problem, because when we asked you, you said, well, I'm doing the DA's office. Well, you're really not. You're gathering information, so that's a little bit misleading.
That's part of the audit. So
Thank you. I have no further comment.
I have one question. Mr. Spadoni, are you allowed to introduce resolutions to us? Because you said you did, so I'm
I don't
confused.
introduce
You
resolutions.
said you wrote it, so.
I drafted it, correct.
Okay, so are we still is this like a secret? Who told you to do that?
I received communication from our clerk that there was this resolution was requested to be drafted on Monday evening. It was in her office at 8:30 on Tuesday morning.
Question,
Very secret.
question.
Yes.
I can't remember. Is your staff union or
they're not
career
union.
service? So they're not bargaining unit, okay.
The career service.
Yeah, okay. And to the amendment, I'll support the amendment, but I'm going to repeat what I said, sort of similar to what you just said. What I said last night at the committee meeting, I would think it would be great, because when we get in these meetings, sometimes there's a lot of cross-talking, that you would possibly make an arrangement with I would say the president of the council, but whoever, and sit down and have a meeting regarding your schedule, just in general, so that, as far as these, you remember I was saying that?
Yes.
And you seem to be agreeable to that.
Well, that is in our memorandum, actually, it does say B, conduct the items requested in the resolution as an agreed upon procedures audit commencing with an AUP letter of understanding between county council and the controller's office. That would require us to have a meeting and agree upon the procedures of our audit. So that whole, the whole audit will be shaped by our discussion of what you want, what we can give you, what is possible, and that is something that has to be scheduled. So we're not going to design the audit per se without that conversation.
All right, yeah, and I recommended, I'm a big defender of county legislative branch of government. Article 1, legislature. Article 2, executive branch. But anyway, people forget that sometimes. Here's the thing. I think it would be helpful to meet one-on-one or one-on-two or two-on-two, whoever put this together. And I just think then that it would,
Yeah.
including myself, it would block out some of the noise and you could get to the heart of it. In terms of the time, yes. In terms of what has been brought up about the money, I did get some emails from staff, you know, but you always are going to get emails about, this happened, or this person did this, or this person didn't do that. And so I didn't write it. I don't think it matters who wrote it, but, you know, that's up to them if they want to say. But at the end of the day, I think the text of it makes sense for what something council would do, is we're the pocketbook, we control it, and if there's a question or questions that come up regarding how this money, this federal money was used or wasn't used, I think it's a fair request. At the time frame, I do agree with Mr. Kraft. I think that the honor before the date, what he said, end of May?
May 30th
Yeah,
or sooner.
I think that's fair. I'm just saying in the meantime, yeah, what, you know, in layman's terms, what you just said, that you could work it out however you want to do it with the president, whoever you guys decide to have at the meeting. I don't need to be at that meeting, so I'll just say that right now. So, yeah, that's all I have. That's all I have.
Madam President.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Nice. It doesn't matter who wrote it, but I think after talking about it, it matters why the author is keeping it a secret. That's one thing. The second thing is, I will support the amendment change of date because Ms. Zirinsky and her staff don't have to just drop what they're doing at the request of this council. She has work that they do. She has deadlines she has to meet, and she has been up here being really, taking this really well, because I don't know why anybody thinks that her office is sitting around doing nothing, waiting for a request. They are busy people. They're very busy. And she has told you very well and over again how busy they are. So I'm going to support this. And Tara, thank you so much, because, you know, I feel like you're being railroaded. I don't know why. And it's a secret, so.
I don't think that, I'm just trying to be fully transparent with what my office can do and what the parameters of the audit are and how we need to move forward in order to accomplish this. And again, step one is that meeting to agree upon procedures, and we will do that at our first available convenience. And as I stated, I've talked to Stacy Duke and conferred with Mark Oren, and we believe that we can get this done at May 30th, and that might delay our audit with the DA, but that was something that we initiated. So we prioritize things, and we can move some things around, but the year-end audits or the year-end work is something that we cannot, because Mayor Dussel requires our work to be able to do theirs, and their work has a deadline.
Ms. Zirinsky, I have a question, and you and I haven't even had an opportunity to talk about this in the past 12 or 24 hours or whatever, but if this is voted down, this amendment, and it stands as 20 days, what or how would you shift your work to be able to try to accomplish it within?
We wouldn't. We are not required to shift our work. We are an independent office. And I'm telling you that we are able to do this audit by May 30th, but my staff requires their time to be dedicated to the year-end work so that, and we have a contract with Mayor Dussel in order to accomplish that 1,800 hours of work. That is an obligation that we are contracted to perform.
I know, may I?
Yes.
You guys are lucky I wasn't here last time, right? Time is a time. I would just say, and I don't think I've picked on Ms. Zirinsky at all throughout
You could
this.
pick on me more if you'd like.
I haven't picked on you once.
You haven't. Thank you.
Please, let's get that clear for the record. I'm accused of picking on too many people, too many times. Anyway, I agreed with the time frame. I mean, that was Mr. Kraft who said it. And I said yesterday, I defer to you on what time it takes or not takes. Others can disagree. But this isn't an unusual ask of a controller, council ask. I mean, every controller has done audits that are just brought up. Sometimes the controller themselves decides, I'm going to do an audit. I said at the committee meeting, I, as a sitting director, had asked for an audit for Mr. Schimmel, and he graciously was able to get it done for me. But, I mean, so I don't think, honestly, except for maybe the time, and I can't speak to that, I don't think anybody's asking Ms. Zirinsky to do anything that's out of the ordinary, especially when it's money. Now, somebody said, I don't like the way Mr. Barron is walking through the halls doing an audit. I'd say, well, I think we can wait for that. But, I mean, you know, I get it. You know, we need to know the thing. But, I mean, it's not altogether uncommon to ask a controller to do things. And so I didn't take it as anything other than, okay, somebody wants to audit this money. It seems fitting and proper request. The time became an issue, and I addressed that to the committee. And so, you know, I'm ready to vote on it, and I don't know, but I'll stop at this point. I'll even turn my mic off. Thank you.
Don't turn it off to vote.
Call the question. On the
Amen.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Keegan?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
No.
Mr. Corpora?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Gafredo?
Yes.
The motion to amend is adopted by a vote of 8 to 1.
So next, we have to vote on the amended motion. Is there any discussion on the change? Yes.
Just like to ask Mr. Barron if he has an explanation.
I haven't read the specifics of the complaint. I get complaints all the time. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know the specific person involved, and honestly, I don't account for each and every bonus that is paid out. HR pays those out through payroll. I haven't looked at them, haven't audited them. I welcome this audit. I think it's a good idea, and I can tell you that every dollar that council passed in the most recent budget has been spent in accordance with said budget. So misappropriation and all that, I don't know where that's coming from, but that is clearly shown out and borne out in each and every audit since then, since we win the GFOA award every year for outstanding and clean financial statements, and we
Mr.
expect
Barron,
to do so in 2025.
so are you suggesting that all $10 million went to retention and new hire bonuses?
I don't know where it went, and I think that's what your audit is going to
Are you aware of an email that was sent out by an administrator from Graysdale saying that they will not get the retention bonuses and that had to be used for the care of Graysdale patients?
I don't know anything about that. I didn't get the email. I was
Seems
not
like
part
something
of
that
it.
would have to cross your desk.
No.
No, $5 million doesn't get.
The Graysdale administration is the Graysdale administration. I did not get that email, Mr. Goffredo. So I don't know, but I can tell you each and every dollar that was appropriated in the 2025 budget has been spent accordingly, to best of my knowledge.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Call for the vote on the amended motion.
Mr. Brown?
No.
Ms. Keegan?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Corpora?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Goffredo?
Yes.
And Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 8-1.
Thank you. Next, we have consideration of Administrative Code Article 13 contract resolutions. The first is Econsult Solutions Incorporated. Mr. Brown, will you introduce?
Whereas Northampton County Administrative Code, Article 13, Procurement and Disposition of County Property, Section 13.15, Contracts and Agreements, C2 requires approval of county council for any contract where costs are to be funded with monies outside of the county, such as those funded through bonded indebtedness. And whereas on March 11, 2025, Northampton County Council received a request from the county executive for county council to adopt a resolution endorsing a contract with Econsult Solutions, Inc. to provide consulting services for return on environmental outdoor recreation economic impact for the term of 8 months, total cost to be determined by actual services rendered based on the attached price proposal. Now, therefore, be hereby resolved that Northampton County Council does hereby concur with the recommendation of the county executive as set forth in the attached documentation to approve the contract with Econsult Solutions, Inc.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft? Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Corpora?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Goffredo?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Ms. Keegan?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Next, we have two-way communications. Mr. Brown?
Whereas on February 24, 2025, Northampton County Council received a request from the county executive for county council to adopt a resolution endorsing a contract with two-way communications to provide maintenance for the Vesta 911 call processing equipment used in the 911 center, incurred as part of the joint operations between Lehigh County 911 and Northampton County Emergency Management for the term of January 1, 2025 through December 31, 2025, with a total cost of $226,592.77, funded with the PEMA Act 12 grant. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved that Northampton County Council does hereby concur with the recommendation of the county executive as set forth in the attached documentation to approve the contract with two-way communication.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Corpora?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Goffredo?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Ms. Keegan?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft? Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Next, we have Urban Design Ventures. Mr. Brown?
Whereas Northampton County Administrative Code Article 13, Procurement Disposition of County Property, Section 13.15, Contracts and Agreements, C2, requires approval of county council for any contracts where costs would be funded with monies outside of the county's general fund, such as those funded through bonded indebtedness. Whereas on March 4, 2025, Northampton County Council received a request from the county executive for county council to adopt a resolution endorsing a contract with Urban Design Ventures, LLC, to provide consulting services for CD, BG, home, and ESG programs for the term of 5 years. Total cost to be determined by actual services rendered based on the attached price proposal. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved that Northampton County Council does hereby concur with the recommendation of the county executive as set forth in the attached documentation to approve the contract with Urban Design Ventures, LLC.
Thank you. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Corpora?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Gafredo?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Ms. Keegan?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Is there any other new business to discuss? Mr. Ron?
Whatever. That's one of the more polite things I've been called.
It
But
just
anyway,
looked-
I was just sitting here and thinking, not to go over past business, but going forward. It's not so much a legal matter as a parliamentary matter, probably. I was listening when Ms. Keegan was speaking, and I do listen to when everybody talks, even though, you know, it may not seem like it. I thought she made a point in the sense that when we pass a resolution, or a resolution comes forward, generally someone introduces it as part of parliamentary procedure. Like they'll say, or the president will say, who's sponsoring this? And people have already done where they say, I'll sponsor it for the purpose of discussion, not signaling whether they agree or disagree. So I guess I'm just wondering, going forward, and maybe this is a question for the governance committee about how we do things, but I'm just curious, can a resolution go out without anybody saying they've sponsored it? You know, and I'm not impugning everybody here could have their motives impugned, and probably have. But the thing is, I'm just wondering about that, and that's something we're not going to resolve tonight. But there's a point to be made there, and I just thinking about it as we were going on with our meeting, and I don't know. I was unaware. I don't know if we ever did that. I'm not aware if you have to, or if it's unnecessary, or whatever. And Chris, I don't think it's as much a legal matter as it is a parliamentary matter, or maybe it is in our charter, but that's for future. So maybe at some point we can talk about that. And that's all. When Ms. Keegan was talking, I thought about, I don't recall something not being, even if I said I'm not going to vote for this damn Bill Kraft once again, but I'll sponsor it for the sake of discussion or debate. So that's all. That's all. I'm just asking a question that maybe we could look into that.
You mean from a transparency standpoint?
No, I mean from a procedural standpoint.
Procedural.
I mean, well, you know, I mean,
I agree with Mr. Heckman. I've never seen the solicitor put a resolution in. He's not part of the body. He's not an elected individual. He's hired by us to be our legal representation to see if we're doing things right. And any resolution that comes here, I mean, I've been here since 2011. Ron, you've been here way before that, has always had a sponsor. Somebody that said they did it. I've never had it, you know, not just you, but any other solicitor, hey, I put the resolution and I did it. You're not part of this body. You are you're hired by us. You're not a council member. Now that's, yeah, I know you did it. It's very in the past, but it's something we should look into, whether it's governance or what. But I'm agreeing with Ron 100% that the procedure was completely wrong, and it should have been like every other resolution and everything that's been introduced here ever since the Crows came in has a sponsor.
well, and Madam President, I'm not looking backwards. In fact, if somebody wanted to say, well, let's look at this resolution, I'd say, I put it forward.
Right. I mean,
I-
from now on,
everybody's idea-
This is fine. This is water under the dam.
But
I agree with
and
you,
I
too.
don't know, and maybe there's absolutely nothing, it's just a practice we did.
Right.
I just, as Ms. Keegan was speaking, I was thinking about it, and like you said, I mean, over time, I'm trying to think, you know, the order in which we do things, and I just thought about that, and as usual, I couldn't keep my mouth shut, so I brought it up.
So it's my experience here that when it's an ordinance, there's a sponsor, there's a co-sponsor. Usually people take responsibility for their work or their idea because they want to sell it or they want to say, here's why I did this. As far as resolutions, it doesn't have that, but again, usually people take ownership. But it's my understanding also that any council member can request something, can ask for it to be created, can give it to the solicitor to help create it or write it, or give it to the clerk to help create it. And if they don't want to take responsibility for it, I don't know what to do. I'm not going to force to out somebody if they don't want to take credit for their own work. If it was my thing, and the ones that I've created, I've said, I thought of this, here's why, here's my motive, and that's my prerogative. But, I mean, I feel like continuing to berate it is also making somebody not want to take ownership for it. So, I'm only expressing what I know. I've never seen a name on an ordinance, but people generally say, hey, this is my idea, or here's why I did it, or I'm concerned about this, but I can't force people to do that. I don't know what else to say about that.
We've got a lot of ordinances that everybody just brought up, and we've had hundreds of them.
And usually the person who brought it up sometimes doesn't even get to tag on. Like, I've had stuff and somebody else took it, and I was like, okay, or somebody said, wait, it's your region, so go ahead. So I just think if you have something you want done, you do it, and if you don't know how to write it, or you want to give it to somebody else, or maybe there was a team of people that said, we want to do this. I don't know. It gets brought here, and nothing happens until 9 people vote on it, and I think that's the bottom line. So I'm more interested in the collaborative process than, well, who did this? And I think the other thing that I heard tonight in the spirit is, I understand this is an election year, but that has maybe something to do or maybe nothing to do with our ability to bring forward any kind of action of any of the other bodies. That's our job. So, if somebody had a concern tomorrow, whether it just has to get done. I'm concerned that we couldn't get this done in the time frame that we wanted, and maybe it was too tight, but council has a responsibility, and they have a right. They have a right to request a lot of things, and this council so far has not done that. So when we do, it's not good for us to fight amongst each other and assume that we're picking on people, because I don't think that's it. Ms. Zirinsky has a job to do. She was professional in how she did it. We have a job to do now. I have to meet with her, and we have to figure this out. But I just hope for the rest of the year it's not going to be able. This is an election, or why are we picking on this person? Because there's business to be done, and we need to do the business. Did you want to say something, or you wanted to speak to this, or?
My only response is that I do not have a dog in the fight. I am requested to draft resolutions on a weekly basis, ordinances as they come up, and it's not for me to decide whether they're accepted, rejected, amended, or tabled. I have no interest in that regard. My job, as I understand it, is to present the legislation in a form for council's consideration, pursuant to the Home Rule Charter and the laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And I would suggest that I have consistently done that. And I meant, just to give you a little heads up here, this is my 36th year working for the County of Northampton.
Yes.
So I'm not saying that we didn't have the right to request this from Tara. What concerns me is that somebody thought that this was so imperative that it had to be done so quickly, and that it's over $10 million, and that I was watching the meeting last night, and that's how I found it out. So we have had members here say that we need to work together, and we need to, work together, I guess, whatever. But number one, if it is over $10 million and it's so serious, why doesn't the whole council know about it? Why is this being a secret? That's it.
Yes, sir.
So the amount that we set aside was $10 million. We don't know, and that's what we're trying to find out, how much of that was used as intended. I'll take credit for the resolution. I think it's something to be proud of. We're doing our jobs to make sure the money that the council before you set aside for Greystale employees was used as intended. If it wasn't, I would say it's undermining the power of this body. If it was and there's a misunderstanding, good, we'll find out and we'll be clear on it. I don't think Ms. Zirinsky was attacked at all. I think she was giving her information. I think then we compromised as a body 8-1 to amend the resolution as per her suggestion, which I think is good, working together. But at the end of the day, if we keep trying to figure out, maybe somebody's being anonymous because they're trying to protect somebody that works in the county that doesn't want to be figured out who's giving information to a council member. I don't know. I do know that the information that I saw led me to believe that we should support this resolution. So we're supporting it. It's getting done. And why we keep hammering on this, I think, is a waste of time. I think it's kind of let sleeping dogs lie. Let's hopefully let the controller do her job, and we'll find out why we're getting reports that the money that we intended to be set aside for retention bonus isn't being used.
But what I did hear you say is to maybe review this as a matter of governance, and we can do that at a governance committee meeting.
And I don't want to make a big deal about it because, Chris is right in the sense that solicitors, I write a lot on my own, but solicitors have traditionally helped put together resolutions and ordinances. And sometimes you put something, especially in an ordinance, and you go, Jesus, that's might be a little illegal. You might be pushing the boundaries. That's something the Fed should be doing. But I don't want to. It's not about outing. I don't care. Like I said, I just wondered about the procedure. Like I have if somebody said there's a resolution, the president of council says, I had a resolution put on my desk for blah 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 blah. Would anyone like to sponsor it? I mean, if I thought whatever the motive, I thought what was being asked is a decent question. Like I said, I've done this in the past. I said I'll sponsor it for purposes of discussion. That was John Cusick's favorite statement. I said, I don't necessarily agree with this, but I'll sponsor it. And I would do it too. I'll sponsor it for the purposes of discussion. I'm not upset about how he did this. It doesn't bother me. But you said you were talking about it, and it was in my head. I like to put a ribbon around certain things, and I think, this is how we've done it, but that doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It just is curious. And I have Chris writing stuff, that's part of his job. And as far as somebody who did it or wrote it or whose idea it was, so what? I agree with the employee thing, though. I put things out there based on what I've been told by employees over the years. I'm not picking on administration. Over the years. And they said, oh, my God, if you say something, they're going to know it's me. I'm going to get targeted, blah, 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 blah. So it became creative writing as to how I can help. Because if you don't think employees, despite all the protections, can get, like I worked in both sectors. If somebody wants you out, they'll get you out. The laws aren't going to stop them. Unions aren't going to stop them. They'll find a way to get you out or make you want to get out. So I respect an employee's, situation. It's not unique to any one administration or any party, but I agree with Lori in that, I don't want to beat a dead horse. We did what we did. It's done. I think it's appropriate, and who knows? And I give the benefit of the doubt to the individual.
Any other new business? Any council committee reports? We'll start here and come around.
We had a personnel meeting yesterday, and we appointed a person for as the executive wanted.
We had a capital projects committee meeting. We had a capital projects committee meeting yesterday. Discussed a number of projects, mostly which are wrapping up, and we also discussed the beginning stages of the parking deck addition, or I'm sorry, reconstruction.
Finance Committee met yesterday, and the items were handled on the agenda this evening.
Election Integrity Committee met today and got an update on the upcoming primary. I'm trying to think what else we said, and it was just hours ago. There were no updates on the mail-in ballots and the signage. That's still pending. Voter access was discussed. drop box locations. I think the only thing we didn't hear, because the ballots aren't done yet, is when the actual mail-in ballots would go out. But I think what was like the little interesting factoid was how much, even though it's smaller percentage in municipal elections, that voter participation has increased since 2017. So hopefully that stays a continuation in the smaller municipal elections. Ms. Keegan?
We had an EELU committee meeting today, and we had a presentation from Wildlands Conservancy.
Thank you. Are there any liaison reports?
What happened at CCAP?
I'm going to talk about that last. I had
Okay.
LVEDC had their annual business meeting as well as their board meeting this week. Several council members were there in attendance. Discussed changes on the board, said goodbye to Ed Doherty, who's been a member for over 30 years, discussed some of the folks that have moved into the Valley and how they find the Valley home, and new members of the board were elected, and it's always a good event. Discover Lehigh Valley also had a meeting last week. There was a special presentation, and I'm going to get that and send that out to you because it's talking again about how we're working to increase tourism in this area. And then both Tom and I attended CCAP this week. There was lots of information. I think that it was legislative session, so we were able to have meetings with legislators. There was a day on the Hill where we got to go to the House on Tuesday. There was also a reception where a lot of people came and attended, much more so than any year. So it was good cross section of discussion. In both of my committee meetings, there was a lot of discussion about the federal government and what potentially could change and how those funding cuts or potential cuts or examinations are going to affect our ability to do our functioning. And then on both of my committees, there's members of the state as well. So I guess the nicest way I could say it is that the county commissioners are looking at what are our bottom line services that we must provide and what are our obligations, and if there are expectations from the state to do it anyway without money, that maybe that has to be examined on our end. So it's opening discussion. What I did walk away from is also that not look at this like the sky is falling, because it could be 10 years, it could be tomorrow. So just to keep paying attention. I think the other thing, and I asked Mr. Kapoor to ask for a courts and corrections meeting, is that I learned some interesting things about counties and their obligation to ICE agents, and that in the past, there's been gentlemen's agreements about whether we can maybe detain somebody beyond their prison sentence if they are thought to be an illegal resident, and that there have been actual cases in Pennsylvania where when someone did that as a friendly agreement, that they were sued and the county was held liable. And so I think we have to pay close attention to not just holding somebody, because no matter what is promised and stated that will help you out, it turned out not to be so, and it fell to a local county to have to pay a lot of money for that mistake. So I'm hoping that we look at that closely here in Northampton County. And that cooperation is one thing, but in creating problem for ourselves is another. And then,
Well, I was on the CCAP Economic Development Committee, and they had a big agenda, but we only got through the land bank because they're worried about what the federal government's going to do in the state according to giving them funds to put land in the land bank. I also attended a breakout session that I went to was about farmers' stress. The farmers are stressed because they're selling their herd because they can't get a good price for milk. The drought has hurt their crops. The cost for insurance for crops is skyrocketing. They're hoping that somebody will give them some help to buy that for insurance on their crops when they have a drought and you don't have good production. Suicides, farmers are committing suicide. It was a really interesting breakout. Then I also went to AI breakout. That was pretty good. There's general AI, which is tools for text, video, and music. they were talking about the transcription tool and worried about the data. When there's data that goes to data centers, how long it's going to be there, and how is it protected, and what kind of part of that part is going to be involved with the counties going forward. And then there was an interesting quote, which I thought was pretty interesting, and this was from the girl that put on the session, was a CIO, and she said, and I had to think about this quite a bit, AI is not going to replace human beings, but they're going to replace human beings that don't use AI. So you got to think about that. That was an interesting quote, and that's it.
The other sessions I went to was on Veterans Affairs, and, you know, some of the stuff we already know, and we have a good director, but what was astounding to me is that the funding that they get has not increased in so many years. So the kinds of things that they get benefits for, like, Ken, I feel for you. I'm lucky you have several jobs because it's not great, like, and that they have not kept up with the times, so it's very difficult. The other one I went to is Arts and Tourism Commission. It exists at NACO, and I was introduced to it last summer, but the person that I met there is from the state of Pennsylvania, and she's been adopted by the CCAP to start this as a commission in the state. We have DCED, but the Arts and Tourism branch is sort of separate, and it's a whole way to look at how other ways to have economic development, but through that lens. And so that was a pretty robust discussion, and it was interesting, and I think there's going to be more. So if we're interested in having her or somebody from there come to our council and do a presentation, we may want to look at adopting something like that here in the county, whether it's under DCED, because we have so much here, and it's a very, it's a good opportunity, because one whole subsection is outdoor recreation, but there's a whole lot of other stuff that's just arts or heritage, and this county has it all, so it's pretty good. And I think that's it. There was a lot. It was a lot in a short amount of time. So the only other thing is that the Region 6 group will be hosting an event in May. We're looking into dates now to have our regional meeting, and we are going to talk about the Human Services Mental Health Connection and combine it with the AOPC task forces that are looking into why is so much mental health being shifted to our jail and juvenile system rather than being addressed in the mental health lane. So that's it. And is there a...
Lord, I'm sorry.
I was trying to go past.
Where's the annual conference?
The Springs, Somerset County, in August.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I attended the.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I attended the Technology Steering Committee at CCAP, and it was a very interesting discussion. First and foremost, it was mainly the members who were from out west and talking about what's happening with some of those counties out there in terms of their BEAD applications for broadband now being held up by the federal government. Unfortunately, Starlink is being pushed on them, and how that is going to affect the rest of the state. It's something that the committee is going to be keeping tabs on, certainly not just this year, but you know, well into the future. Again, a bipartisan-based discussion where some folks were not very happy about years and years of work on establishing this 10-county consortium, and all of a sudden their BEAD applications have no idea what's going to be happening with them from the federal government perspective. From there was an update about brand new statewide software that's going to be bringing just about everything together in terms of voter databases, in terms of PennDOT's database, and everything speaking together to make state government, in the hopes, more efficient. And we then were talking about, Mr. Giovanni, we were talking about AI and the implications of that from a county workforce perspective. Something that I am very interested in us understanding more here in Northampton County for our workers and how we can better utilize AI-based practices to serve our residents more effectively. Center County had a fantastic presentation and a great I don't know, I'm forgetting his name right now, and I'm forgetting his title, but he introduced some guidelines for Center County. Guidelines. There's no ordinance, there's no resolution, but guidelines of how county workers are able to best utilize AI to help them with their jobs, not to replace them by any stretch, but to help them be more efficient with their jobs. So it was a robust discussion, and I do plan on sending everybody a memo, and I don't know if you want to call it a report, but a memo on it, because I think it's important for us to really start looking at some of this stuff, especially from the AI standpoint.
And if you think we need to have a presentation at a committee or elsewhere, let me know, I think, because there's so much, and they talk about that all the time out
Yeah.
there, and it just seems like it's so
We're behind.
layered.
Yeah, we're behind. I mean, the gist and overall foundation of the discussion was not, the state's not just behind, but the federal government's behind. When the federal government, state government are behind, our counties are behind. So we're behind in this, and we need to start catching up at some point.
Yeah, some counties are starting to use it though already, weren't they? Didn't they say that?
Yeah.
Because they
Yeah.
said in our meeting, some counties are already starting to use it, but they're cautious.
Yes.
'Cause they, security-wise.
Yes. That's it for me.
Thank you. Clerk's report. Solicitor's report?
If I may, I should report that this morning a subpoena was served upon our clerk. There is a hearing tomorrow at 1 p.m. in courtroom number 5 before President Judge Daly, and it's my understanding that it's on a Democratic nominating petition for county council. There's some issue in reference to the required financial disclosure form that needs to be filed in this office. And
Will you turn
clerk,
your thing?
and I will be there representing our clerk.
Thank you. Any other discussion, questions? Motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Second. All in favor? Go Brackets.